Suppose a law enforcement officer contacted you and wanted to ask you questions about a crime that he or she says you might have committed. Would you answer the officer's questions? Or suppose some night you're pulled over and being investigated for DUI. Again, the officer wants to ask you some questions. Should you answer those questions? Or should you say, I don't wish to make any statements unless and until I have the assistance of a lawyer? A lot of people think, if I say that, it sounds bad. It sounds like I have something to hide. But actually, it's the right thing to do. And here's why. Suppose you answer the officer's questions, and suppose you are in fact charged with a crime. Now imagine that you look at your statements and they're helpful to your case. They're not admissible as evidence. There's a rule that prohibits what are called self-serving statements. That rule says that if you want to introduce your side of things, you have to get up on the stand and testify to it. You can't introduce something you said out of court. On the other hand, suppose the statements turn out to be bad for your case. The prosecutor can now introduce those statements. In other words, if you talk to a law enforcement officer, the prosecutor gets to decide whether or not your statements come into evidence. You can only hurt yourself. Now let's look at the other side. Suppose you say, I don't wish to make any statements unless and until I have the assistance of a lawyer. Again, people say, that sounds bad, like I have something to hide. But the Constitution protects your right to say that. So the judge can never use that against you in any way. In fact, it never comes into evidence. The jury never even hears that you said that. The bottom line is this. If you're being investigated for a crime, there's only one safe course. You say, I don't wish to make any statements unless and until I have the assistance of a lawyer. My name is Mike Blunt.